Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once more to our continued analysis and discussion of the case of Senator Ekweremadu. I am still reporting from Enugu. Enugu is the city of Ekweremadu. The modern Enugu cannot be discussed without men like Senator Ekweremadu. He is a powerful and influential politician of our time. So it is natural that his case, his very serious case in the United Kingdom, will reverberate in Enugu state among the people. It is being discussed, questions are being asked, also among the members of DPA and our own audience. They are seeking for clarification. There's a lot of information out there. Some of this information are totally contradictory, making it impossible for an intelligent person to make a meaning out of what is happening in the case of Ekweremadu. And this is where we feel we have a unique role to play. That is, Ekulo News, VPA, and all our other resources should be in a place or position to help explain what is happening. The danger of the social media era is that we are going to receive thousands of information, most of which are false, useless, and meaningless. It becomes a big problem for you as an intelligent person to know what is true, what is logical, what is defensible, what is substantiated and what is unsubstantiated. As I explained yesterday, when you hear the word fact, as a lawyer, when we hear the word fact doesn't mean true. It's that we call something a fact doesn't mean it is true. That is why we have facts in different categories. As a lawyer of many years, I understand how we prepare pleadings, how we prepare processes and arguments in court. First, some facts are disputed facts. Some other facts are undisputed facts. It makes a whole lot of difference. The court is about the trial of disputed facts. Evidence is about the verification of disputed facts. Facts that are undisputed are settled. There is never any need to prove facts that are undisputed. Then you go beyond that. You have what we call facts that are speculative, facts that are substantiated. So, once you hear the word facts, don't rush to the conclusion that truth has been told. So, in the era of social media, we expect that you will hear a whole lot of things, many facts, but you will not be able to tell which facts have been substantiated, which facts are speculative, which facts are settled and undisputed, or which facts are disputed. Our work in these analyses we hold from time to time is to help our members, our audience, who are not lawyers, intelligent people but are not lawyers. They're not trained in the process of evidentiary analysis. They don't know how to process evidence. They don't know how to distinguish between disputed and undisputed facts. All right? Now, we're going to do that, and we're using the case of Ekweremadu as a very topical case which engages the attention of so many people. We use these things to enlighten you in how to follow the case, but also how to follow other cases. Now, Ekweremadu's case. So much has been said. Letter to the British High Commission written by Ekweremadu has been on display. All those are being used as evidence. They're being used as evidence that he maintains he's innocent. He's going to be arguing that he's innocent. That's Ekweremadu. That's one idea. His lawyers are going to focus on that, push for that. They will select some facts, magnify them. They will select some facts, downplay them. And in the end, they're pushing for their own cause, for their own theory of what happened. Now, you have the second part, the prosecution. The prosecution is backed by the British police and the investigative report. They have spent some time, weeks, building evidence, developing their theories, asking themselves, can we nail him? The prosecution is concerned about, can he nail you? You must understand. The prosecution is not your friend. The prosecution is not representing you. In fact, though the prosecution has a duty in law not to hide exculpatory evidence, that is, if there is anything that exculpates you, that shows you are innocent, the prosecution should not suppress it. Of course, many prosecutors suppress it. Even when they don't suppress it, they downplay it. But the critical question every prosecution in the world will ask is, do I have enough evidence to convict? Do I have enough evidence which, if I put before the court, will lead to conviction? If it's true, the prosecution will go forward. This is uniquely so for the British prosecution, American prosecution, and developed countries prosecutions. In Nigeria, it is different. I emphasize, in Nigeria, the prosecutor doesn't ask, do I have enough evidence to convict a person? No. What the prosecution asks is, do I have enough incentive to put this person to a trial, regardless of whether I will convict him or not, because in Nigeria, trial will take a long process, so putting you through trial in Nigeria is a sufficient punishment. So once a prosecutor has received instruction to go after you in Nigeria, Nigerian prosecutors don't care about evidence. I'm saying this because I know they are listening to me. If you're a Nigerian prosecutor, police officer, attorney general, EFCC, the fact is that you don't care about whether there is evidence or not to convict. You only want to harass, intimidate, suppress the person you are charging to court. That is with Nigeria. It's not so with the United Kingdom. It's not so with the United States. No system is perfect. American system is not perfect. British system is not perfect. But they don't have the sort of problems Nigerian prosecutors have. That is correct. They don't drag you in there just to embarrass you. Very well. Continuing on this analysis, the question has been asked. What are the points that Ekweremadu should be looking at? What are the points all these people should be looking at? Okay, we go to this issue. First, how was this organ donor selected? What was the process of contact, the initial contact between Ekweremadu family and this donor? How did they meet? Who selected them? Who match-made them? What was Ekweremadu looking for when he got this man? Of course, it has been said that, okay, his daughter is sick, and when your child is sick, or when you're sick and you need kidney donation, if you're a poor person, you will die in Nigeria. That's correct. But if you're a rich person, you can do a whole lot of things. You can go overseas and look for treatment. But when organ is needed, you need to provide organ. And how do you procure organs? We don't know precisely how they do it in Nigeria, but going by world standards, organ procurement is a very serious thing. It is highly, yes, I was asking a question, I have to coordinate because I have a recording here going on as well. So how did Ekweremadu identify this organ donor? How did he find this young man? There will be certain requirements. There is a position of law on how to do it. And that position will be applicable whether you found the man in Nigeria or the United Kingdom. From the point of view of the British authority, you must comply with their law. I do not think that the British authority allows you to do some Nigerian style over there and come here and finish it up in the United Kingdom. So, nobody has told us how Ekweremadu met this young man. What processes? Who verified this young man? How come that compatibility was not confirmed in Nigeria? Why would you travel to United Kingdom before determining that the organ did not match? This is very important. You don't need to go to UK to be able to tell whether organ matched or not. Because guess what? If a sample was needed, that sample could have, if a tissue sample or something about the young man was necessary, that could have been procured in Nigeria and test done in United Kingdom before even applying for visa. You selected the guy, applied for visa, flew him to UK, and did not know, had not confirmed what would happen if the organ did not match. So that's the problem. And the second problem, what was the contracting process? What was the contracting process between Ekweremadu and the young man? What did they tell the young man he would get in return for donating his organ? Did the young man promise to donate his organ for nothing? Was it done out of charity? Did he know them? How did he get to that point? So, the details of the agreement between Ekweremadu and the young man is important. And once you get into that contracting processes, you have to also begin to deal what we call bargaining power. Who represented the young man in the negotiation, in the contracting process? Did he have a lawyer? Did he have elders of his family members present? Or are you telling me that the former Deputy Senate of Nigeria, seated on the other side of the table, against this young man on the other side of the table, and the two of them negotiated organ transplanting, organ harvesting? If you think that, then you've got a problem. If that was what happened, then that in itself is a problem. There is grossly inequality of bargaining power between the two. Ekweremadu is a very powerful person. The young man is a nobody. To suggest that the two of them sat down and reached an agreement in which each side was to protect his best interest, that would be troubling. Because any such agreement will be lopsided, it will be filled with gaps, all favorable to Ekweremadu and all against the young man. And that imbalance, that level of imbalance, can constitute a finding of deception, a finding of exploitation. Once you provide misleading information to the donor, and the donor relies on it, that means that the donor is going to change his mind down the line. The donor is going to say no. And when you get to that point of disagreement, the government will get involved, naturally. So, now, assuming that the young man knew that his organ was going to be harvested, there are also certain regulatory requirements. He's supposed to go through counseling. Many countries require those who donate organs, major organs, to go through counseling. Somebody is going to sit down and explain to you the implications of the decision you've made. For instance, in this case of kidney transplant, somebody is going to sit down and explain to this young man how the kidneys function. You have two kidneys and you can live well based on one. But if you give up one and have kidney problems in the future, you're going to have a problem. So after explaining all these things to the person, you will ask him, do you still wish that to donate your organ to this person? And the person will review, fill out forms and say, yes, I wish to do so. And you make sure he's not under any influence, he's not under any drug, he's not under any intimidation. And when you have decided that this decision was freely made by a person well informed on the subject, you proceed. I can tell you that that did not happen in Ekweremadu's case. If there was any agency involved, if there was some the contracting process that was sound, Ekweremadu would have put it out. So, It is so now. We are guessing what happened, the trigger moment. It was very clear that in the absence of a clear agreement, in the absence of informed decision, in the absence of an agreement as to all the elements, the parties will fall out. The donor and the recipient parties will disagree down the line. And when they disagree, very likely it will end up in the hands of the authority. Absolutely. Because of inequality of bargaining power, when this young man and the Ekweremadu disagreed in the United Kingdom, the young man went to the police. If there was any agency involved, if it was any big person, an uncle that participated, the young man would have gone back to the uncle, and the uncle would have contacted Ekweremadu. They could have ironed it out without the involvement of the police. So I believe, as the most likely thing that happened, when the young man left Nigeria, either that he was not told he was going to donate his organ, or it was not explained to him what it meant, or he was not told of what would happen if his organ did not match. Yes, maybe he did not know what would happen if the organ failed to match. So the young man had a particular expectations, and the Ekweremadus had a different calculation. So, for instance, when they said that the organ did not match, who determined that the organ did not match? And what does it mean when you hear that the organs did not match? Organ did not match may be a medical, in the medical sense, of some biological incompatibilities between the organ, between the persons involved, the donor and the recipient. That could be a medical thing. But also it could be a legal thing, in the sense that this organ donor did not fulfill all legal requirements to be able to donate to this recipient. So there's a mismatch. There is a gap in legal requirements or compliance level. So when we hear that organ did not match, we don't really know exactly what it means. But apparently, any doctor involved, any professional, medical professional involved in these transplanting organ donor issue has his own obligations. That is part of the requirement of the law in the United Kingdom. You don't just walk in there and start cutting and carving. No, you go through the checklist, make sure everything has been satisfactorily answered. Then you have to have your own personal checklist. You got to talk to the donor. So I believe that in the process, somebody talked to the donor and discovered that the donor was not well informed about this process. In other words, discovered that the requirements had not been fulfilled, and that person either explained to the young man his rights to say no and his rights to look for protection in the United Kingdom. Or maybe that person, a medical personnel, a health worker, contacted the British police and said, we have a situation here. A young man is propped up to donate an organ, but it seems that the requirements have not been met. They didn't need to go further. Once you call the police and say you're uncomfortable, you don't think that the processes have been complied with adequately. Therefore, you want the police to look into it. At that point, the British police will come in, speak to the young man, strengthen the suspicion. Then the first move is to protect him. They will take him into a protective custody. And then they will start their investigation. I believe that was what happened. And after going through the investigation, the British police confirmed just one simple thing. The requirement of law was not met. The full package of compliance standards that are supposed to be observed before transplanting of an organ could occur were not done. And if so, that is actually evidence of crime. You have to understand criminal law better and stop mixing criminal law with morality. There are two different things that are related but are different. When the law says you can't do X, you can't do X. If you do X, you're in trouble. Your intentions, your knowledge of the law, non-knowledge of the law will not be a problem. In this case, Ekweremadu did not know the law of the British regarding organ transplant. He certainly did not know. And as you know, ignorance of the law is never an excuse. And it will not be an excuse for Ekweremadu. He is a very highly informed man, a trained Nigerian lawyer, but that doesn't make him particularly knowledgeable about the British requirement. He did not engage experts in UK to ventilate this process, to verify this process. It seemed to be a very personal arrangement between his family and this young man, to his knowledge. So that is the challenge. You see, you always need to know the precise standard of the law, the standard of behavior the law requires from you in order for you not to commit a particular crime. The fact that you thought otherwise will not help you. Let me give you an example. Rape. Every criminal law has what we call technical violation. Absolutely. For instance, many people do not know that in the case of rape, consent is required each time. Consent is required each time. So many people would think if they go to bed in the night with their girlfriend and she consented to sex in the night, which they both enjoyed, many people do not realize that they still need another consent in the morning to have another round of sex with their partner, even though they're in the same bed. You're lying in the same bed with a woman, you just finished having sex with her, now you want to have another round of sex, she's asleep, and you decided to penetrate her while she's sleeping. She can accuse you of rape and win. You needed her consent for that second round. Every additional round of sex requires consent. Likewise, many people did not know that you are with your girlfriend, enjoying a weekend, you had sex in the evening, and you decide to go for a party or nightclub. In the nightclub, your girlfriend got drunk. You came home, you have sex with her. You do not know that you're actually liable to being accused of rape. The sex you had with your girlfriend when she was drunk did not have her consent. She could not consent. She was drunk. So that sex occurred without her consent, and that is rape. I'm just giving you an example of how people who don't understand the law can violate the law innocently. Many of you would do what I just described. Party with your girlfriend, go out for a nightclub, dance away, and she gets drunk, and you come home, and you proceeded to have sex. She wakes up, sobers up in the morning. She probably will shrug it off. But the fact is that she did not consent. If she goes to the police to report that you raped her, and they ask you questions, you admit you went to the nightclub, you admit everybody was drunk, you admit you had sex immediately you came home, you are going in for rape. So, it is not okay that you meant well. It's not okay that your village people allow it. It's not okay that in Nigeria it's a common thing. We do it in Nigeria. If you go to the United Kingdom, you must comply with their legal standards, and I tell you this, their legal standards are very different from that of Nigeria. So, if you see the situation with Ekweremadu's case, please do not treat it lightly. All these arguments, the young man is 21, the young man is... Even if he's 30 years old, even if that guy was 45 years old, he was a relatively small man compared to Ekweremadu. If he was taken to London without a clear understanding of what he was going to do in London, If they was taken to London with ambiguous terms and conditions that cannot be verified at this moment, he's been exploited. Nobody told you that exploitation is limited only to minors. Indeed, being a minor makes it automatic. But being an adult doesn't mean you cannot be exploited. Being an adult doesn't mean you cannot be trafficked. You can be trafficked as an adult. If there is deception, fraud, misrepresentation, some level of dishonesty, and this young man would claim there was dishonesty, and in the absence of any written agreement between Ekweremadu and the young man, people would presume, the law would presume in favor of the young man. Otherwise, this would have been so well detailed in an agreement that will reach up to 25 to 50 pages. So you'll be able to address all the issues. And someone would have requested for the young man to be represented by counsel. If there was an agreement signed by a young man and his lawyer, then Ekweremadu can say, well, he agreed. And that will be, that part of the requirement will be complied with. So it is a serious case. The way it is, I am of the view that unless there is some mysterious, magical diplomatic intervention in which the British authority exercises its discretion not to prosecute, they may say, well, let's let this guy go. They have the power. The Attorney General has the power to weigh all the ramifications and determine what is in the best interest of the British authority, British government, to prosecute this case or to let it go. They may let it go. If that doesn't happen, if they move on with prosecution, it is very highly likely that Ekweremadu is going to be convicted. The process is set. It is rolling on as we speak. And I don't see a reason to think that the British authorities are playing games here. I think they're very serious. Ekweremadu, there is no intelligence, operational reason to frame him in the United Kingdom. The British government has no interest in Ekweremadu going down. Ekweremadu has been a peaceful politician. He's a quiet man. He has not been disrupted. He's a non-ideological politician. He has no ideology. Nobody will have a reason to want to nail Ekweremadu. So I can tell you this. It's a very serious problem over there. And you got to take it very seriously as well. I am concerned about him. And many people have asked the question about his daughter. I'm sure that Ekweremadu has resources to pursue organ donation in a legitimate way. I believe that if it's done legitimately and properly, the young girl will get organ donated in the appropriate way that will comply with all requirements. Thank you so much for listening to this analysis on Eklo News. We shall continue because, as you can see, this is a very major development in Nigeria. It's a case that answers a whole lot of problems, a whole lot of challenges. Many people are in similar situations. The things you do with your house help, the way you move them back and forth overseas. Sometimes you take your house help to go and be a nanny in the United Kingdom, in the US, and she's living there as a nanny. Some of you will bring this house help claiming she was your niece. When eventually the authorities find out she wasn't your niece, she was working for you, they begin to see if you paid her salaries. And they begin to see if she paid taxes on the salaries. And when they find out you've not been paying salaries to this nanny, that could become exploitation. That could become human trafficking. Senator Shehu Sani pointed that out yesterday. I chuckled when I saw it because many of you, many Nigerians are falling into that category. You take your niece, some even claim that the niece is their child. Some even use their own children's passport to smuggle a niece into the United States. Yes, you use your child's passport. You come to Nigeria and get a babysitter that looks like your daughter. You prepare a Nigerian passport. Or you don't prepare any passport, you just use your child's passport. and get this person into the United States undocumented, when they catch you, it's a long jail term. Let us learn from the case of Ekweremadu. Thank you so much. We shall continue this analysis in the course of time.